this is my best summer so far. Like I can tell the progress is just incredible. I feel better, I look stronger. The scale says I'm heavier. Everything is a green light.
That right there is the face of a man that should terrify the entire NBA. Because after suffering a terrible season-ending injury in just his second year that he called life-changing...
It's life-changing. In the long run, I think it's going to be very beneficial because even though I don't wish it on nobody, then lessons that nothing else could have made you understand.
Victor Wembanyama is still scratching the surface of what he could do in the NBA. And if this interview and the clips we have seen all preseason are anything to go by, we're about to see an entirely different Wemby in year 3. And if Wemby goes to a different level, he won't just be an all-star or an all-NBA player, he will be firmly in MVP conversations. Yes, MVP. Because what people need to realize is prior to his injury last season, Wemby had already turned himself into one of the best players in the NBA. Because following a slow start to the season, in which you had people questioning if he was as good as advertised, if he had the offensive skill set to thrive in the NBA, with quotes like this coming out. He's absolutely awesome on defense and not impactful at all on offense. He just looks like he's playing without a whole lot of direction. After that quote and that start to the season, over the next 36 games, Wemby averaged 26, 11, and 4, whilst casually making nearly 3.5 threes per game on 37%. And he wasn't just making any threes. At 7'3", he was doing ridiculous things.
This is a heat check. You gotta be kidding.
And do you want to know how many players averaged at least 25 points, 10 rebounds, and 4 assists per game last year? Nikola Jokic and Giannis Antetokounmpo, 2 of the top 3 MVP candidates. Do you want to know how many players have averaged 25 points, 10 rebounds, and 3.8 blocks per game in a season? Kareem, Hakeem, Ewing, and David Robinson. Unsurprisingly, those guys were all near the top of MVP voting in those seasons as well. Let me remind you guys, those were Wemby's numbers from last season. Now he is telling everyone that he is stronger, he is smarter, he is more focused, he is heavier, and he's had a year to lock in. This is not something that the NBA should be taking lightly. And I know what you might say. If Wemby had such great numbers, why did the Spurs suck so much? Why did they end up with a 2nd overall pick and Dylan Harper? Well, there's 2 reasons for that. Wemby got injured, and Wemby can't play 48 minutes a night. Because in those games I mentioned, the Spurs were a plus 120 in his minutes. They had a net rating of plus 3 with him on the floor, which would have ranked 11th, a top 10 defense, and an above average offense. In other words, they were a good team when Victor Wembanyama was on the floor. When he was off the floor, however, well, that was a bit of a different story. And obviously what stands out there is the defense. This is why he was going to win Defensive Player of the Year despite potentially not even making the playoffs, because it was Wemby who was single-handedly the difference between the Spurs being a good defensive team and being Utah Jazz levels of bad on that end of the floor. Now this is where the Spurs did a really great job in the offseason acquiring Luke Cornett as their new backup big man to help alleviate some of those problems. But focusing on Wemby, he's not even a finished product on defense either. He is already the most valuable defender in the league simply because he can do things no one has ever been able to do. I mean, look at him here, where he's initially guarding the maxi pick and roll, knocking the ball out of Drummond's hands in midair. The Sixers keep it in bounds. Wemby steps up to stop Lowry's drive before then rotating back over and swatting Drummond at the rim. There are just things you aren't supposed to do on an NBA court. One of those things is guarding the paint as a big man before rotating out to a corner shooter and absolutely swallowing up a Jeremy Grant three-pointer. Or how about blocking a Kyle Lowry jump shot on this play, then recovering and blocking a Caleb Martin jump shot from behind. You could spend 30 minutes showing all of Wemby's blocks and just plays where players run into the paint and quickly scurry back out because they see that alien waiting at the rim and they don't want any part of that. He is that good defensively, and just like offensively, he's only going to get better. Because yes, he is the best defender in the league, but he's also only entering his 3rd year, and that means there are still areas of his game that aren't perfect. He can be undisciplined sometimes. He will probably go down as the best shot blocker ever, so you can understand why he jumps at a lot of shots, but occasionally he could just stay down and contest shots, and it would have the same effect as a blocked shot because of how much length he has at the rim. We also know he's had some trouble in matchups against the likes of Embiid, Giannis, and Jokic, and honestly, there's not a defender in the league that can guard these guys, so don't expect Vic to do it either, but you'd expect with some added strength, Wemby will get even better, because there were signs of how his length can affect even the best player in the league in matchups against Nikola Jokic, who talked about Wemby getting better.
I think he's better than this year than last year, and I think he's going to get even better. And one of the that's going to be remembered forever.
And this is the next step for Wemby, because we have seen him have incredible matchups with Giannis and Jokic and Embiid, but often he has played incredible, they have played even better. If he wants to become the best player in the NBA, he needs to start winning those matchups, and more importantly than that, he needs to start winning a lot more games. And this right here is where the non-Wemby side of this offseason should scare the NBA. Because after spending last year playing with a 40-year-old Chris Paul, we saw the benefits of having a good point guard next to Vic. This year, the Spurs are hoping De'Aaron Fox won't just be good, he will be an all-star level point guard. And whilst he does have a minor hamstring injury, I think we're overlooking how good these two guys could be as a partnership. I mean, we saw the Kings win nearly 50 games in back-to-back seasons with Fox and Sabonis as their two best players. We saw what Fox could do, averaging 25 and 6 a night, consistently making clutch shots, consistently finding Sabonis in the right spots. You're telling me Fox will now have Wemby next to him, who can not only catch lobs and roll to the rim, but his shooting is going to create so much space for De'Aaron. And offensively, I don't even know where to start with Wemby, because last year we saw him make over 3 3-pointers a game, which is easily the most per game by a center in NBA history. And that shooting not only opens up the game for the likes of Castle, Fox, and Harper, but even himself. Just like here, where Horford is high up because of that shooting threat, and that just allows Wemby to go past him and get to the rim. Or this time where it's just that little hezzy to freeze Cornet, and with Cornet so far away from the rim, Wemby is comfortable putting the ball on the floor and getting to his spot for the floater. But when I say I don't know what to expect from Wemby this season, he said he's been working with Hakeem. He's got bigger, he's got stronger. What if we see him more consistently in the post, using that size and length to get to that hook shot? We'll see more and more pick and rolls with 3-point guards in the rotation. He might even take more threes, pull-up jumpers, inverted pick and rolls with Wemby handling the ball, maybe even point Wemby. There is so much we could see offensively that honestly, I'm just sitting back and waiting. Because last year we saw he can average 25 points a game off 3-pointers, transition scoring, lobs, and shots close to the basket. How scary could he be if he adds more to his game? If the Spurs can just be okay in those non-Wemby minutes, the numbers suggest they are a playoff team. And that was year 2 Wemby, not including De'Aaron Fox or a better version of Stephon Castle, Dylan Harper, Jeremy Sohan, Devin Vassell. You get what I'm trying to say. We could see a major improvement from the Spurs and Wemby, and he's putting the league on notice. And one guy who I think is going under the radar is Jeremy Sohan. If you want to hear my thoughts on him, click here. If you want to see more content like this, subscribe to the channel, drop a like would be cool. Have a great day.